And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, him.
NYPD off-duty cop armed when he was carjacked. Carjacked by migrants in New York City. It's a dark day for New York City. It's a dark time for New York City. But yet, the police commissioner of New York City, Edward Caban, recently did an interview. It was called Behind the Badge. Behind the Badge, that's what Ed Caban is. He's hiding behind the badge. He's the police commissioner. He's the most insignificant police commissioner. And yet, he had the audacity to say that the migrant crisis is under control and that no crime crisis related to that migrant crisis. And yet, we have an off-duty cop carjacked with his firearm, carjacked. Luckily, his iPad was in that car, and they were able to track down that car and make the arrest. What are your thoughts?
First, I hate the title of it. Tina, Joe Marino, Patrick Riley, Tina Moore, they all wrote this article. If you guys are listening to this, migrants rob off-duty NYPD officer's personal car at gunpoint. Hate the title. I'm going to tell you why. Migrant, okay? An itinerant worker who travels from one area to another in search of work. These people do not, unless that work is robbing people of their vehicles and carjacking people, I don't consider that actual work. I consider that more like diabolical crime, nefarious. I don't think that constitutes, I don't think these individuals constitute as a migrant or a person that leaves one country to settle permanently in another, an immigrant. The title migrants, I mean, I find myself, I want to title this episode Migrant because we're not going to get monetized and, you know, it's not going to get a lot of traction if we use the proper term of it. These are illegal immigrants. Should be a legal immigrant robs off-duty NYPD officer personal car at gunpoint, sources say. I mean, the title in itself, it's like, how are we going to identify the problem when we can't identify the problem? Right? I mean, and that's like, it's really a bad state of affairs. It's again, this is the welcome to the things we're not allowed to talk about podcast. You know, here we go again. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, look at this. We have people who entered this country illegally and robbed NYPD off duty. There's zero fear.
Well, not only is it zero fear, they're actually protected, right? Because New York City is a sanctuary city. We did a recent podcast about sanctuary cities in comparison to it being a safe city, or is it dangerous? And you see a lot of advocates right now who explain why it's a sanctuary city is a safe city, and there's supposed data that's actually related to show and correlate that's actually a safe city under a sanctuary city. But in this particular case, it's quite curious. I'm quite curious to understand, how does the NYPD know that they're migrants or illegal aliens when we can't ask them this information in a sanctuary city as New York City? So that's what I'm curious about, because we hear about these various crimes and the violence just keeps kicking up. It's getting worse and worse. It's more egregious. And now we have an off-duty armed NYPD police officer. Think about that. This NYPD cop was armed, and illegal aliens, supposedly from Venezuela, that may be tied to some gang activity or some gang association. How does the NYPD know this when we can't ask these questions? How far into this investigation is the NYPD? Is this related to the 80 some odd patterns that are going on in the city right now? I suspect that it does have a correlation to these 80 some odd patterns that are going on in the city. And yet the NYPD police commissioner has evaded the question and not answered truthfully. Again, we go back to this perception versus reality, that New York City is encompassed with these robbery patterns and we're affected by these illegal aliens. And we have to ask ourselves exactly that. Are they coming to this country for work? Or are they coming here to be terrorists? Because right now, all this gang activity, it's basically domestic terrorism that's going on. And it appears to me that they have some training from Venezuela or other parts of the world, because to be able to carjack an NYPD police officer who is armed and retrieve the property and his firearm speaks volumes to me.
It's a curious case. And like, where are they getting these guns from? So in this article by the Post, 2 armed men believed to be Venezuelan migrants, again I'm going to say they're illegal immigrants, gang members, one of whom was carrying a full automatic pistol, carjacked an off-duty NYPD officer in Harlem. So 11:30 a.m. he's sitting in his 2020 BMW at West 146th Street and Bradhurst Avenue. The 2 suspects, who believed to be associated with a Venezuelan gang, had their weapons drawn when they approached them. One of them knocked the officer's gun out of his hands and demanded his keys. One of the guns in the brazen incident had a Glock switch, making it fully automatic, something not typically seen in New York City. So I believe that you're 100% correct, Eric. Where are they getting the guns from? How do they know how to make this Glock fully automatic and to add a switch? I'm pretty good with handguns. I'm not an expert. I'm not a pistol expert, but I'm pretty good when it comes to handguns. I could put lasers on it. I could sight them. I could do a lot of things with handguns. I would like to switch. Something you need to know. It's something you need to be very familiar with guns with. So I'm going to agree with you. I think there is training. I think that this is their profession. So when Eric Adams says they came here to work, yeah, they came here to work, and this is the work they're coming here to do.
Well, according to Eric Adams, they came here to swim. They came here to be lifeguards, according to Eric Adams. But you're wrong, Eric Adams. These Venezuelan illegals that have, partake in gang activity, they're highly trained. It's obvious to me. Look, you can Google all you want. YouTube, you can look up YouTube and try to figure things out when it comes to firearms. But to have the ability and the capability to actually modify this firearm in this particular manner clearly depicts that these Venezuelans, these illegals, have military training. Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. Listen, I call it YouTube University. Sometimes when I'm fixing things, I have an RV, I'm fixing stuff, I'm pretty handy. But sometimes there's certain specifications that I just need. I need enhancement. I need help with. So I go to YouTube, and YouTube, I call it YouTube University. It's a great help. You can figure anything out on YouTube these days. But when it comes to firearms and things like that, and those kind of specifications, you need training to be able to handle that firearm, to be confident to actually modify it in that manner. These gang members, and that's what they are. Let's call them what they're not migrants. They're illegal aliens that are gang members. They are highly trained. And this is scary what's going on in this country right now. And the NYPD police officers out there, you have to be prepared. I mean, anyone, you have to be prepared. Listen, I'm a big advocate for Second Amendment. If you're a good, obliging citizen, you need your firearm. But look, John did a recent podcast where he talked about concealed carry weapons in New York City. And pretty much it's very tough to actually carry your firearm legally. Just passing certain locations, you violate New York City law or New York State law. So we are in some dark times, brother.
Yeah, and there's no, look at these 2 men. 21. I think the other one's 20. What are they doing here? What are they doing here? Do they have families here? If they have no families here, I fully support deportation. I fully support deportation of military-age males who came here with no family. Bye. See you later. I don't need to investigate. I don't need to look at your tattoos and investigate. I don't need to know anything about you. I don't need to know if you were a good citizen in Venezuela or if Venezuela opened up their jails and sent you here. Bye. Leave. We need some common sense restoration of immigration laws. The immigration on the laws that are on our books aren't being followed. They aren't being followed. If they were, these 2 gentlemen wouldn't be here. This officer would have never had his life endangered. Numerous people on New York City streets would have still have their property and not be robbed and not be victims to obviously violent individuals, military-aged males who came here to do harm to American citizens and New York City residents. And your mayor is funding them. And he's funding them. He's welcoming here. He's inviting them. He's incentivizing them. He's what's another word that I could use? He's actually telling them to come here. He's trying to promote the fact to come to New York City illegally and cross our borders illegally. And he's done it time and time again. And on the campaign trail in 2021, he said we should never harm immigrants. He called them, I believe he called them asylum seekers. They should never be put in place where ICE has any police agency has the ability to harm any of these people. So to me, I see a picture of them two in handcuffs. Is that the harm that Eric Adams was talking about? Because that's what I believe he's talking about. Harm means arresting them for violating our immigration laws, and especially men like this. But no, what do we hear from the appointed upper echelon of the NYPD? Oh, if they're just stealing a bag of chips, listen, buddy, they're doing a lot more than stealing a bag of chips, and everybody knows it.
That's why I say New York City is the touchdown city. Because if you look at it right now, when the illegal aliens cross the border, to me, that's halftime. That's you made it to the 50-yard line. But when you make it to New York City, that's the touchdown. That's the touchdown location. You make it to New York City, you get food, you get shelter, you have opportunities to get jobs. And you know what? If you're not seeking out a job, if you're part of gang life, well, New York City is the place. You can go out, you can roam free, you won't get prosecuted. It's a sanctuary city. I mean, listen, it's a picture perfect place to go. If you're part of a criminal element, that's where you're going. You're going to New York City. It's absolutely ridiculous. And Mayor Eric Adams is slapping everybody in the face. And the cops, an overwhelming majority of them, they are supporting him. And it appears to be extremely feeble-minded. I don't know how you're supporting him when he says one thing and he does another. And he's actually making life more difficult for you, the cop that's actually out there. Look, we have an NYPD police officer armed with his firearm who is trained, and two illegal aliens were capable. Think about that. Think about the ferocity of this incident. They were able to knock the firearm out of his hand, take his car, and flee the scene in broad daylight. These men are highly trained. They're not here to seek a better life. They're here to deteriorate the life that we know in America. And New York City is the touchdown location.
Yep. And how do you get rid of it? You vote better. You get the people that are in office out, right? And here's another thing we're not allowed to talk about. It's Pride Month this month. See a lot of police departments, a lot of police chiefs embarrassing themselves on social media, taking a political stance. We're never supposed to be political. I have no problem with anybody, what they do in the privacy of their own home. I don't question anybody. I have plenty of friends who are gay, who, whether they're female or they're male. I have plenty of people who are related to me who also are attracted to the same sex. And I have absolutely no problem with it. I do have a problem with the double standard that's happening across the country. I'm told in a lot of places that we can't be political. We can't have blue line flags. You know what? I'll take it because I'll be the first. I'm probably one of the only people. I really don't like the blue line flag. I think we should all be under one banner. However, we have a police chief in LAPD who told you that you can't have a blue line flag. I know the NYPD frowns upon the blue line flag, right? They don't want stickers on your car. They don't want things of that nature. We can't be political. Some people take it as it's harmful. Some people are offended by that. True. Very true. So why is it okay to decorate NYPD vehicles and other police agencies and hang the pride flag everywhere? Does that not offend some people? It's offensive to a lot of people. I'm one of the people, I believe it's offensive. I'm all for, let's just fly the American flag and the state flag. I don't want to see your political beliefs. I really don't give a shit what you have to say. Hate has no place here. Hate has no place here. I don't care what you say. It's none of my business. I don't care what you do in the privacy of your own home. And my other thing is, if we're going to start hanging flags everywhere, I'm going to create a heterosexual flag. I'm going to create a heterosexual flag. And let's see, a police department's going to welcome heterosexual month? I don't think so.
I'm with you. As John said, I totally agree with what you're saying. I reflect on what's going on here when it comes to politicizing a particular movement. And that's what this is. It's all politicized. I agree. You should fly the American flag. The American flag should always be the top flag. If we start to express our views, our politics while we're in the police department, we're starting a movement of divide and conquer. And that's not what this is supposed to be. We're supposed to be the median, the police department. We're supposed to be apolitical. We're supposed to support Lady Justice, who is blind, and we're supposed to be blind to justice and support America. America should be the flag. Excuse me. America should be the flag that we fly because it supports our country and it supports the Constitution. And as police officers, we're supposed to support the law and Constitution. But what's going on here is virtual signaling, and that's what we see every time there's something that is woke progressive politics. We see virtue signaling, and it's exactly what this is, because they're not supporting Pride the entire year. They're just supporting it this month. It's virtual signaling to one another to say, look, we're part of the movement also. We support woke progressive politics. I don't think we should fly a heterosexual flag. I don't think we should fly a gay flag. I support gay. I support heterosexual. I don't care who you love. I'm with John. I'm with you. I could care less. But I don't support virtual signaling. I don't support woke progressive politics, and I don't support divide and conquer, especially when you're in law enforcement. And that's what this is. This is being very divisive, and it shows that you have to take a stance. And yet, it's quite interesting. Yet, we have all these issues going on with the police department. Right now, we're in a position where we just did a recent podcast. They don't want police officers wearing beards anymore, but we spend our efforts doing things like this. This is absolutely ridiculous. Again, total virtual signaling. I think it sends a bad message. Again, it goes back to divide and conquer. I like the blue line flag, but I like it for off-duty purposes. I don't think it should be part of the uniform. I don't think it should be represented within the police department. I agree on that. You want to support that off-duty? Absolutely, because that is showing support for a particular fraternal side of something. This is absolutely ridiculous. Again, the police department has gone completely woke, and you see it right here. And, I saw it towards the end of the tenure of my career. Even breast cancer awareness. Now, I support breast cancer, absolutely. But yet, there were commanding officers dressing the precincts entirely pink, making the outside pink. And it wasn't because they support breast cancer. It's because they wanted to virtual signal and compete with one another on who can make the precinct the most pink and make it the most illustrious and pretty much advertising. And what they did was they put it all over social media. But deep down, did they really care? Because the rest of the year, were they supporting breast cancer? Did they actually donate money? This is total nonsense, and it's total bullshit.
Yeah, so Paul Manicone put this meme out. He's Just Right PD. Give him a follow at Just Right PD on Instagram, on X, and he's got a great YouTube channel where he breaks down videos. And he said, remember the LAPD chief banned the thin blue line flag, said it's racist and cops need to be impartial, but painting the pride flag on the police cars is totally cool. And honestly, he's 100% right. I think that this month, you just see who are the biggest virtue signaling departments out there. The NYPD ranks amongst the top if they aren't the king of it, because they became the king of social media. They became the king of nonsense. Another thing I think that we should talk about, I think this might be a little near and dear to your heart, Eric, so I'd like to get your opinions on this. So somebody had sent me this, and I looked it up on 50A, and it's the first time I'm seeing this decision from the CCRB. So CCRB gets a complaint against John Schell. They received the complaint on January 26, 2024. On February 5th, 2024, they closed it. The complaint is against NYPD Chief of Patrol John Schell. Now, that is the quickest I've ever seen a CCRB case get closed. Normally, they go about 3 years. And so the allegation is for abuse of authority, threat of arrest. Now, me and Eric have said time and time again that this is abuse of authority is the catch-all. I personally think the abuse authority threat of arrest is nonsense. We see people get this allegation when you're required to tell someone by law, if you do not cease doing this activity, you will be arrested prior to arresting them. And however, we've seen people get substantiated for that. So John Schell gets this. I think that the allegation itself is nonsense. He has the one allegation on that case. No arrest made, no summons issued. But the conclusion, which is really the finding in the case, they said that due to the citywide budget cuts, CCRB is no longer able to fully investigate certain cases within its jurisdiction and suspended investigating some type of complaints. My question is this, Eric. is anyone that just gets the one allegation, and regardless of rank, if there's a cop out there and he gets a abuse of authority, threat of arrest, and that is the only allegation, will the CCRB close it as fast as they close it? And will they put the same conclusion on that for the officer?
Well, I was thinking the same thing. So, John, if you remember, you and I both we were present for a virtual hearing from the CCRB, a monthly meeting. I think this was quite a few months ago. I think this was back in January, I want to say, where the CCRB testified that they're going to continue the investigations and continue the process that they have for racial and bias policing, but they're going to make cutbacks on certain investigations. And look, we're seeing the reflection right now. And I thought it was quite interesting, right? Because the police department already investigates racial and bias type of policing. And you and I both proved that it's based on emotion. And if anything, they should have cut their funding from those investigations and not cut back on investigations as such. Now, do I agree that threat of arrest is absolutely nonsense? Absolutely. I was substantiated myself on numerous complaints when it came to threat of arrest. And it's absolutely ridiculous, because I would debate with the Civilian Complaint Review Board that these aren't threats, these are warnings, right? It even says in the patrol guide as a police officer that when you're in a situation and it's feasible, that you should advise your adversary the condition, what's going on, if it's not a dangerous situation, and advise them that they're going to be placed on arrest, and advise them if they're going to be placed on arrest and what their options are in particular situations. That's good policing. That's communication. But that communication breakdown is substantiated by the Civilian Complaint Review Board. Now, when it comes to John Schell, I do believe that this is going to be a one-off. I don't see this happening with police officers. Absolutely not. I also think that this is virtual signaling by the CCRB to show that they're not getting funding to do these cases. And I also think it's virtual signaling that John Schell gets to show that he actually got a civilian complaint and it's closed out and properly investigated. I've never seen a case closed out in a month. That's absolutely insane. Due to COVID was weaponized against me along with the disciplinary matrix. Some of the cases that I had with the Civilian Complaint Review Board were open almost 5 years, and they were substantiated against me. So for 1 month, it's absolutely ridiculous, insane. And what I'm surprised by this also is they're saying that they don't have the funding to do the investigation and come up with a proper disposition. But the Civilian Complaint Review Board is also famous to do investigations beyond the statute of limitations, knowing that they cannot give a disposition or discipline, and they still do it anyway so that there's a finding on someone's record. So I find this very convenient that John Schell received different treatment. It's obviously not equitable and it's not fair.
Yeah, so I missed this month's CCRB hearing. I'm going to go to the July one, and I have that question. I want to know how many of the cases have gotten this disposition, and are they saying that everyone, if you get this one allegation, will the officers get the same exact treatment? I mean, because again, I'm going to say it again. I know a lot of people don't agree with me. If it's not equal, it's discriminatory. I didn't make that up. I didn't say that. I said things matter. I said you need to take things into account, but the police department saying something totally different. The equity, the diversity, equity, inclusion movement that has rolled into every agency in New York City is saying something totally different. They're saying if everyone doesn't get equal punishment, it's discriminatory. So again, we need to know, is this a one-off or is this the standard? What is the standard? I'm going to ask that at the next CCRB meeting. John, if you listen to this, maybe come and give your thoughts on it, because I personally, I think the threat of arrest is nonsense. I think you probably were doing your job that day and you shouldn't get it. But I think that officers should be held to the same standard regardless of the rank. And I kind of agree with you should be held to a higher standard. You're the chief of patrol, soon to be chief of department. You should be held to the higher standard. You have 30 years of experience, but I don't think you did anything wrong. But we got to see how equitable the CCRB is being. And what is this just, are they just taking care of Eric Adams' buddy to try to basically gaslight people into getting more money in their budget, which that could be too. Right? Are you really going to hurt Eric Adams' people when you need him to fund your budget? And that's what they're asking for, more funding. And this is clearly a political move by the CCRB. And I think that the CCRB will avoid that question. They're avoiding the question. I asked them on social media. If you post a police video on social media, the CCRB will reach immediately out to you. If you have a complaint about the NYPD, CCRB will reach immediately out to you on social media. So I asked that question. I want an answer for it. If I don't get it, I'm going to attend the July monthly meeting for CCRB. And I also don't believe they're going to answer that question at that meeting as well. We'll tape it. We'll bring it to you on social media. I think they'll avoid that question as well.
Yeah, I look forward to the next meeting coming up. We just missed a meeting, was the other day. So there will be there's a meeting every month. I do encourage, our listeners out there, I do encourage you to jump on these meetings. If you don't have the information, just contact us at www.thefinestunfiltered.com. We'll send you the link, and you can jump on these CCRB meetings. You do not have to speak, but it's a great opportunity to listen. Active duty members included. It's a great opportunity to listen to the bias and disdain that goes on in CCRB. That is your First Amendment right to sit there and listen. If you want to speak, you can. If you're active duty, if you're active right now with the police department, I suggest you don't. But it's a great opportunity just to listen to the guest speakers, listen to the panel of CCRB. Now, when we attend, I'm curious. I would like to know also from the Civilian Complaint Review Board, what kind of data do they have compiled to reflect how many police officers or how many law enforcement officers actually get a single complaint against them? Because in the majority of the cases, especially mine, when it comes to civilian complaints, each case is its own folder. And some of those would have 10, 12 law enforcement officers. It would have myself, some of the cops, and each one would have 10 to 20 complaints. I find it hard to believe that John Shell is involved in an incident and there's actually one complaint. Because just, and I can make this correlation here. When someone is arrested, let's say for menacing, and let's say they're menacing someone with, I don't know, like this mug I have right here. Let's say they're menacing them with a mug. This mug is now a weapon, right? So you would be charged with menacing and you would be charged with possession of a weapon. So and that's what I'm saying. Things go together. I find it hard to believe that John Cho was involved in an incident and there was only threat to arrest. And it wasn't, threat to arrest and also discourage you. So I'm curious about the information that is compiled with that. Now,
dude, your mic is terrible, bro.
Is it? Hold on. I think it's something with StreamYard.
No.
You good?
Yep.
I think it's something with StreamYard. But even with that, I also would like to know from Joe Fox, because Joe Fox has substantiated 90% of the cases. So I want to know if Joe Fox had an opportunity to look at this case. And if he was able to foreshadow, just based on the information that he has right now, would he substantiate John Shell's case?
I mean, I don't know. 90% of them, I don't know. Maybe, more than likely, more 9 out of 10 times he would, Another thing, Eric,
he would for cops, but would he do it for John Shell?
Oh, there'll definitely be favors done. He's a nice guy. Another thing, Eric Adams takes the key to the city away from Sean Diddy Combs because of the disturbing footage. Like many people, I was deeply disturbed by the recent footage of the Sean Diddy Combs assaulting his then partner. I strongly condemn these actions and stand in solidarity with all survivors of domestic violence, gender-based violence. Our city has worked tirelessly to make survivors are heard and seen by our administration, except for those that, because you forgot something here, Eric, except for those that actually make the allegations against you and your buddies that you appointed into deputy mayor spots or to high-ranking police official spots. Except for those people, then you don't really actually support them. You more intimidate them, slander them, send cops to harass them. And what else do you do? Drop lawsuits against them to try to silence and intimidate them, right? Drop slap suits on them, things of that nature. So you actually don't. Eric, what do you think about him removing the key from Puff Daddy?
Well, first of all, he should have done it immediately. The fact that he actually responded to the media that, he had to coordinate with his team to figure out if he was going to remove the key was absolutely ridiculous, because Eric Adams normally is the king of the show. For him to say that he has to coordinate with his team was quite shocking. That to remove the key. This should have been done immediately. But again, this is just a show. This is virtual signaling. I think it means nothing. I'm sure he's in conversation with Puff Daddy as a, as we speak. But listen, dude, I got to do this. We just got to put on a show. But what does this really mean? I don't think this really means anything other than virtual signaling, because has he actually made a public stance and said that the actions of Puff Daddy are just completely inappropriate, wrong? He does not support violence against women. No, we haven't heard that. So again, to me, this is meaningless. And it carries no weight.
I still want to know why he got a key to the city in the first place. I still want to know, like, what was that about, right? What was that about? Like, why? What relevance did that have? What did he have to New York City at that point? What has he been doing? And there were numerous allegations about Diddy when he received, right? We were making fun of him the minute he received the key. So, like, what was that? And then Eric Adams, in his true cowardice form, the key to the city of New York is presented to individuals whose service to the public and the common good rises to the highest level of achievement, and who acted as a model for fellow and future New Yorkers. After internal deliberation, so it's not his decision, right? The key to the city of New York committee recommended nullifying and rescinded Mr. Combs' key. I have accepted the recommendation and am requesting that Mr. Combs immediately return his key to the city, to the office of the mayor, and gives a name, attention, whatever. The city record will be updated to reflect our decision. Coward. He can't even remove it. He needs a committee. He's hiding behind the committee. This is something that the unions do. Remember, Pat Lynch didn't give $50K of your money to Kathy Holtshaw behind your back without making an endorsement. Pat Hendry didn't just sign the check. It was the committee. They said that they wanted to do it. But what happens if the committee doesn't vote the way the president doesn't want to? Guess what? That committee, you're not going to be on that committee for too much longer, right? So this is something that politicians normally do. They hide behind decisions of others. This is what Eric Adams doing here. Puff Daddy did not meet the criteria to receive a key to the city, and 100% the key, if it was given by anyone, it should have been removed from him. But immediately after the allegation came out, it's rumored that Eric Adams flew to Miami to hang out with Puff Daddy. So this is all a bunch of bullshit.
That's what I'm saying. This is completely meaningless. And again, it just shows Eric Adams is just a complete liar, just lies right through his teeth to everyone's face. What does Eric Adams do? He hides behind everything. When Eric Adams wants to put his foot down and he wants to show his power, he has no problem doing it. Because Eric Adams, many times when he's criticized in public, will say, I'm the mayor. This is my city. But you're the mayor. This is not your decision. This had to be the decision of the committee, because that's what he said. He has to see what's going to happen with his team, and they have to figure out what's going on, because he immediately could have put his foot down right there. And he could have said, even if that was the case, Eric Adams could have said, you know what? I don't care what this committee says. I'm going to make it my duty to have this key removed, because I don't want anyone in the city to actually carry the key to the city that doesn't have the values that I, Eric Adams, believe in, especially someone who was accused of a sexual allegation 30-some-odd years ago, and you've been indemnified for it. This would have been a great opportunity to say that you take these cases very seriously. And that's not what we saw here. Again, Eric Adams is great. We can even show it happened with the How Many Stops Act. When it came to the How Many Stops Act, Eric Adams only vetoed it because he knew the city council would overturn it. He hides behind woke progressive politics because, John, what do you call him? He's progressive what?
I call him progressive light sometimes, but I think I'm failing. Like, I think he is, if I really had to label him, I'd say he's a corporate fascist. That's what he is. He's a corporate fascist. He
sure is. And he's a total coward because you said it right. He hides behind others when it's very convenient for him. Even when he was interviewed, what was her name? That attorney, Oliani or something like that. He deflected from everything. Oh, well, that wasn't me. I didn't say that. I didn't do that. You sure did. And that's why she shined in that interview and he didn't. Because there's only so many lies you can tell. There's 1,000 ways to tell a lie and only one way to tell the truth. And this administration doesn't tell the truth.
He doesn't stay consistent on one thing either. Everything he campaigned on, he's went backwards on. Anything he says, he'll flip flop on. He'll flip flop on it in the same interview. He'll be for it and against it in the same interview, and the media does not hold him accountable. Even all of you so-called Eric Adam haters, Jeff Colton, what's the other girl? They report on nonsense. Honestly, they report on the stupidest things, and when it comes time to really get in the weeds, they don't do it. So they're a joke too. The media apparatus in New York, like I said, is a big joke. I think the guy gets away with complete murder. Other thing, we had a 3-year wonder in the New York City Police Department. He was such a great cop with 3 years on that, and I specifically remember Eric Adams saying that we're going to get rid of these inside jobs. We're going to put cops on the street. Nobody should be inside like he was his entire career, right? Because that's why he has he doesn't even have double-digit arrests. It's an absolute disaster that this guy was ever even paid by the New York City Police Department. Never mind receives a pension from them. But however, he has a low number of arrests. He said that he was going to put all the people that were in inside positions out on the street. So while he's saying that, we have a kid that has 3 years on the job, goes to Deputy Commissioner of Public Information. I don't know that the kid worked in the 2-8. I heard that he did. He worked in there when Tariq Shepard was the first time he was actually in a patrol command, I think, when he made captain and then he made inspector and then he shot through the rank and then he kissed Alvin Bragg's ass, brought him out publicly after Alvin Bragg arrested the deli owner, said how great of a job he is, and he commends the partnership. I congratulate him for his promotion, and then he was promoted to deputy commissioner within a few weeks after that. So rumored that this kid worked for Tariq Shepard. So Tariq Shepard takes this kid, puts him in the social media unit of DCPI. There are 80 active NYPD uniformed members of the service in DCPI. Now, I think they need it because the upper echelon of the NYPD and Eric Adams have a lot of baggage that they need to cover up daily. They have a lot of nonsense going on, and they need some real people out there doing it. So they have this kid, social media unit. He gets into a road rage incident in Jersey and shoots somebody, flees the scene, and he winds up getting caught because they traced the bullet back to his gun.
It's unreal. 3 years on the job, and he's in this unit. You know what? It's pretty interesting because this administration is so egregious on social media. I think they need more than 80 people. They probably need 150 people. That's why he said they don't need these inside gigs anymore, because everyone's going to be reallocated from the inside positions to the social media unit. 3 years on the job. So that means included with 6 months in the academy, 2.5 years as an actual police officer. Upon graduation from the academy, he's already in the social media unit. That's absolutely ridiculous. Are you telling me there's no cops out there with 10, 15 years on the job that were grinding, that deserve a position like this, that actually understand the nomenclature of the job, that have a better understanding of social media apparatus than this cop with 3 years on the job? That's absolutely ridiculous. Even if he had a communications background from college, or even have a prior working in that industry with communication, still he has 2.5 years as an actual police officer. It's absolutely ridiculous. But again, Tariq Shepard was promoted with rocket fuel. He was promoted to the gills. Absolutely ridiculous, just like Deputy Commissioner of Operations. So how does he understand it? Again, he's going to follow suit. Jeffrey Madry has laid the path for nepotism. How he's taken in Deputy Commissioner of Operations Kaz Daughtry. Tariq Shepard is another nepotism hire. He's another nepotism promotion. And now Tariq Shepard is carrying on the tradition of the NYPD, just pure nepotism. But look, it's an epic fail. It's been an epic fail with this administration. This kid is involved in an incident. We don't have the complete context of it, but I'm sure it didn't go over well. And the fact that what we do know about this is that he fled the scene, and that's not a good look. That, to me, even if you're scared, that's not a good look. And that to me, that's expressive and that's reflective of guilt.
Well, I mean, besides even that, I mean, you're a cop. So you should know the inner workings of a criminal investigation. He fled the scene thinking he was going to get away, right? So already you're there saying, and I agree with you. He has no business being in any social media unit for the New York City Police Department because he obviously doesn't even understand how police work happens. And that's the same why Tariq Shepard appoints him, right? Why Tariq Shepard appoint him? In my opinion, It's because he looked at him as he was loyal, right? He was loyal to him. So I'm going to bring him with me because, oh, he kissed my butt and he did everything I asked him to do. And I think he's a hard worker and I think he's a cop. But that's not true loyalty, right? What's loyal is having people who are going to protect you from yourself around you, having people that actually make very good decisions around and then will tell you the truth when you're not acting right. And obviously, this kid isn't a good example of that. And I'm going to go back on the Stephen Lee thing again, because I heard a lot of people messaging me, you don't understand. This kid's dirty. This kid beat somebody up and fled the scene. Well, yeah, and he was fired. And this kid shot somebody, more than likely could have murdered them. I don't know if he's getting charged with attempted murder. I don't know what the exact charges are. He's definitely going to jail because the judge told him, good luck to you. And this kid's suspended with pay right now. He's on the New York City Police Department's payroll. So where's the standard there? And that's the whole point. That's the hypocrisy that we're pointing out here, is there's no clear standard of anything, how it happens in the New York City Police Department. You could shoot somebody, flee the scene, and you're going to continue to get paid in suspension until your court case is over with, right? But you could punch someone in the face and flee the scene, and you're going to get fired. That to me, again, that to me is a big problem. It shows a lot of things, that shows a lot of bias in these investigations. And again, it doesn't fall into that diversity, equity, inclusion plan.
That's the standard for the NYPD. The standard for the NYPD is nepotism. You're either in the circle of the boys or you're not. And that's what's happening right now with the NYPD. Nothing makes sense anymore. We can look at two cases that pretty much mirror each other, and we will see two different responses by the police department. We've seen a different response when it came to Lieutenant Nicholas Stephanopoulos. We've seen a different response when it came to a police officer that was involved in an incident where he put a foot on someone's head, which was pretty similar to Stephanopoulos. And Stephanopoulos was far more egregious, where he stomped someone's head. We see different standards. And look at this. This particular cop, who with 3 years on the job, it's much more egregious. He used his firearm and he's suspended with pay. Obviously, usually when someone's suspended with pay, the ultimate outcome is termination. But how long does it take? Sometimes it could take 3 and 4 years, right? Because this is first going to go to a criminal trial. So there's not going to be it's called a GL-15 for it. So for our NYPD members who watch this, they know that. But for someone who, if you watch this and you're from an outside agency, or maybe you're a civilian, a GL-15 is a general order 15 where you actually get interviewed on a recording. The GL-15 will not happen until this trial is completed or commenced. So here, this police officer could be suspended with pay for 3 to 4 years. So in that time, he's the taxpayer. The taxpayer pays the liability for this, because this police officer is making a substantial salary while he cannot be, nor can he do the social media stuff. Everything would not be credible. But yet Sal Greco can be terminated faster than the speed of light. So again, it just shows the hypocrisy, the failure of the NYPD. It all comes down to bias and nepotism. This kid is in the circle with Tariq. He's part of this whole nepotism circle, and that's why he's protected.
Absolutely. There's zero standard. Again, I'm going to say, if discipline isn't equal, it's discriminatory. And what we see in the New York City Police Department is there is a mishmash. You will take a supervisor with a lot of time on the job and a ton of complaints, and he will do something egregious, and he gets the lesser penalty, and he gets the lesser charge. And then you take a young kid who has no disciplinary history, no complaint history, no experience, and he does something this big, and he's suspended, right? So like there's zero standard in the process at all. And just the standard that they've put in place recently has even made it even worse. The disciplinary matrix has actually made it more arbitrary. The disciplinary process is arbitrary, like everything else in the New York City Police Department. How they charge people, how they arrest people, how they respond to protests, how they handle religious exemptions, right? Because that's my favorite. Like that's my favorite. Oh, we could give you a religious exemption for your beard, but we can't give you one against the enforcement, Eric Adams' enforcement of a mandate. Like that was just the highlight of arbitrary for me. The laugh, and it just shows how illegal the process is, how arbitrary and capricious the entire process was. And again, the entire upper echelon of the NYPD made the same decision as me, but they weren't forced out of their career. Only I was, right? Only I was, and the rest of us peasants, right? Only I was. So again, it's just complete nonsense going around. Eric, you shared an article. I don't have it up here, but it was a Post article. They quoted Mike Alcazar in it. And the article was about that. There were numerous force complaints were up in the NYPD, and actually police officers are being assaulted at a higher rate as well. What do you think the reasonings for that is?
Well, absolutely. I basically, I put a quick snippet on social media. This is no reflection on the rank and file of the police department. What it actually is a reflection on the failure of the NYPD leadership. It's a failure on the woke progressive policies that are going on with legislation right now in New York City. Of course, there's going to be more injuries for adversaries, potential perpetrators, subjects involved in police incidents when they're attacking police officers. They're involved in physical tussles. They're creating these tussles. They're attacking police officers. So absolutely, there's going to be more injuries. It's a byproduct of being involved in a fight. You could even look at studies. Many times when someone attacks someone else with a knife, the actual perpetrator, the attacker, will sustain injuries and cuts as well from defensive wounds, cutting themselves with a knife. So this is absolutely ridiculous to try to this article to try to put the blame on the rank and file of the NYPD. The NYPD is out there making more arrests because there's more crime right there. So there's going to be more potential incidents for injuries. We also have protests. We have passive riots. We have violent riots on a daily basis since October 8th of 2023, and those get extremely violent. We've had the police department had to take over a campus. So, of course, there's going to be more incidents. And also, the perpetrators are far more emboldened to attack the police just for being police. So, the fact that there's a 20% injuries for the public in regards to this is actually pretty low. When you consider how many police officers are being assaulted and the amount of crime that's going on in New York City right now. But again, I want to say that it's absolutely no reflection on the rank and file, but it is a failure on the leadership of the NYPD because they're not protecting their cops and they're not being transparent to the public and explain that how this is a byproduct and why this outcome is a reflection of the crime in New York City. But again, what would that do? That would change the perception versus reality.
So Mike was quoted in the article, Mike Alcazar, and he said that it's because both sides have been emboldened. Said the criminal element has been emboldened. And so that is why, based upon all these laws, progressive laws, you could run down. We could talk about laws for 2 years, and we still could show you how many laws that they've been emboldened by. But, bail reform, raise the age, blah, 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 everything else, right? So that the laws have emboldened the criminals. But then he said that, well, the Caban's cops have been more hands-on, and so they've been emboldened to go out and arrest more people, and that's why there are more police interactions. I will say that I agree with him to a point. I agree with him that the kids in the khaki pants have been emboldened that you could be involved in vehicle pursuits and you could be hands-on, and we're going to back you. But I think they're a very small fraction of the entire New York City Police Department. And I'm going to say that this New York City Police Department is way more hands-off than the other administration police departments in the past. They just are a lot louder and they pretend like they aren't. But we've seen video after video after video, incident after incident of perpetrators starting with police officers, not the other way around. Not even where the police are engaged in taking enforcement action, where the police are being victims of crime. They're being victims of harassment and assault. So I don't think it's reflective of that these cops are going out there and doing more enforcement. I don't buy that at all, because at the height when we were doing tons of enforcement, there weren't this amount of assault on cops, because the omnipresence was you would be arrested, you would be charged, you would be held accountable. So I don't even take that as a factor of them doing police work. I think the factor is that Criminals have been emboldened. There's no consequence for action. And you're going to see a lot more of this, a lot more. And it's not because of cops being hands-on. Again, 97% of the people who stopped hopping the turnstile aren't even frisked.
Well, I actually think that what this also is a reflection of, I think that this article actually reflects that Mayor Eric Adams will not admit it, but the police department, the overwhelming majority, their plan is not to be present as he wants to tell the public when it comes to subways. I think that the overwhelming majority is actually engaged in intrusive police work right now. And because ultimately, intrusive police work is a segment of broken windows. And Eric Adams doesn't want to admit that broken windows is actually the policing that works. Stop, question, and frisk, addressing low-level quality of life crimes. Unless Michael Kemper is telling the truth that 97% of fare evaders on transit are not searched or frisked, and they're actually just given a civil summons, which has no effect on criminal behavior, doesn't help public safety, and that person just gets right on the train. So again, this just shows that there's no clear vision or leadership in the NYPD in this administration, because you're getting different signals, and you're getting different data, and you're getting different opinions. So again, which one is it? Is Mayor Eric Adams has a police department that's doing omnipresence, or are they doing intrusive police work in broken windows? And it's my opinion that the overwhelming majority is doing intrusive police work. But what they're not doing is they're not targeting the right perpetrators, the right persons of interest, because it's a criminal-first society. And what they're also doing is they're engaged in these vehicle pursuits. So that part I do agree. When it comes to Michael Alcazar, I'm going to assume that he's talking about the vehicle pursuits, and it is a small segment of the job, but the majority of them are by the khaki pants. We do see some outliers in some of these precincts. Now, that does cause injuries. That's a tactic that we never used before. However, when it comes to just the everyday, the average physical tussle, these tussles are initiated by the persons of interest, by the perpetrators, because of this emboldened society, and there's no consequence, and because of the bail reform. And I do believe that the police department is doing the broken windows, just not doing it properly.
I think they're doing broken windows on the average citizen, not on the perps. That's my personal opinion. I think they're picking easy targets. Not the CRT. I think they really are going after the worst of the worst. I do. I think they're doing it. I think you have a lot of investigative units going after the worst of the worst. The average I'm talking about, the average rank and file in the NYPD, I don't believe is going. I don't even think that they're plugged in. I really don't. I don't think they're plugged in, and I don't blame them for not being plugged in. Why would you be plugged in to someone who treats you like garbage? Why would you be plugged into a mission that you don't even understand what it is? You don't even understand what the mission is. Why would you be plugged in when you have no standard of what's right or wrong? You have no clear path for success. You have no ability for promotion, right? Unless you get lucky enough to kiss the ring of someone who happens to be on the rocket fuel, the Eric Adams rocket fuel, where he skyrockets them. You're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. You're not getting promoted. You're going to be a nobody. You're going to be doing nothing. There's no clear path for success for you. And especially if you're a male white on the job, you maybe will get promoted if you work much harder than everyone for about 15 years. Maybe you'll get promoted while other people are just checking boxes and getting promoted. And that's the truth. Don't care who likes it, who doesn't. NYPD Hispanic Society names Eric Adams the Man of the Year. 2024, October, they're having a party. Party sells out with only in a few hour time, $200 tickets. Everybody loves Eric Adams. He's the Man of the Year. I must have got it. I don't even know how many times I got that sent that. I commented on it. I said he deserves it. He's doing a great job. Crime's up. He's emboldened criminals. He welcomed the entire world here. Migrant crime's up. He's overseen the largest fleeing of New York City residents and businesses than any other time, than any other mayor in any time in history. He's also overseen the most amount of people who retired early from the NYPD under his tenure, as well as he has the lowest approval rating of any mayor in documented history. So I said he's doing a great job. He deserves it. Congrats, guys. And they erased my comment. I didn't say anything wrong there. I didn't say anything wrong. That's what I think about it. What do you think about Eric Adams being named the Man of the Year?
Dude, my phone was blowing up for the past couple of days, and everyone's sending me that and saying, "Oh, look at this! Your boy's Man of the Year." I said, "This is like the upside down award. This is absolutely ridiculous. Crime's supposed to be down. Crime is up. You're Man of the Year." we're supposed to have a safe society. We have illegal aliens running amok in this city. We have 80 some odd patents. Great job. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But you know what's interesting about this also was I said, isn't it pretty funny? I used to always throw functions on a yearly basis. I would have functions with supervisors. We'd always do a big supervisors dinner, and there was awards and things like that. And I would always do it at a nice place. And yeah, I know there's inflation right now, but it would be maybe $100, $125 a person. And, you know, cops have alligator arms. They did not want to reach into their pockets to pay. But for Mayor Eric Adams, how quick did these tickets sell out that they actually paid $200 a person? These are the most self-serving assholes. It's absolutely ridiculous because I remember before Mayor Eric Adams became the mayor, years before, I heard the scuttlebutt about Mayor Eric Adams, how they talked there's so much gossip, how they talk so bad about Mayor Eric Adams. He was useless. He was an empty suit. And now he's mayor of the year, and they're all willing to pay $200 a ticket. It just shows it's all about them. And it's so sad to see that people can't stand on their moral principle and actually say, this guy's not doing a great job. He's man of the year. Really? I can't wait to see who gives a speech why he's man of the year. Please, can we be plugged in this, please? I want to see this speech.
He's fired more cops than anyone who had no disciplinary history, weren't even involved in corruption. He's forced more people out of their careers than anybody. He forced almost the entirety of the Hispanic society to stick something in their body that they didn't want, and they're making him man of the year. It's absolutely hysterical to me. Why are they doing it? I don't know why they're doing it. If I had to guess, I'm going to sit there and say that Ed Caban and his boy Pintos push them to make Eric Adams the man of the year because they're looking for more promotions for the Hispanic society. I mean, it's politics 101. That's all it is, right? It's rules for it's I just want to be close to the king. We got to play the game. We got to do this. It's politics. We need our promotions. We need that. 100%, Eric, you nailed it. Self-serving. That's what I see. I don't see anybody. And by the way, if anybody disagrees with us, you got a retired member, anybody you guys would like, you could come on here and tell us why Eric Adams should be the man of the year. We'll give you the floor. We'll ask you one or two questions, and that's it. You could just tell us what it is. I don't see he even has an accomplishment in his 2.5 years. He doesn't have one accomplishment that I could sit there and say, wow, he actually did the right thing on this, or he's doing a good job, or he's even consistent in his messaging. So I don't know what that is. If you guys could tell me one accomplishment, I appreciate it. The floor is yours, guys. The floor is yours. And I think these fraternal organizations, I think they're all cowardly. I think they're all self-serving. I think the people that behind it, it's more virtue signaling. It's more, let's pat each other on the back when it's good. Let's stray away from politically inconvenient things. And when it's politically friendly, let's jump all over and have big parties and be on social media.
You know what? I actually responded to a couple of people, and they were actually telling me I was absolutely ridiculous. But I said, wait a minute, hold on. There's a couple of conversations I had. I said, wait a minute. So Mayor Eric Adams is man of the year? Then how come former Mayor Bill de Blasio wasn't man of the year? Because as far as I'm concerned, I think he had more accomplishments than Mayor Eric Adams. I had a lot of people pissed off at me, but some great conversations. But I said, listen, I don't like Bill de Blasio either. But if Mayor Eric Adams is going to get man of the year, he's honored as man of the year, then arguably I think Bill de Blasio should be man of the year also, because I think he had more accomplishments. What do you think about that?
I think honestly, I'll even go further. Like when I see all these awards dinners and I see man of the year, I always laugh, right? How many man of the year or like leadership awards has Kaz Daughtry won? What the hell has he done? Ed Caban, the minute that he became the police commissioner, he gets lauded. And it's not just for them, right? It's not just for them. I'm not just talking about them. I'm just saying in history, that's just how it is. People get appointed, and within weeks, you're loaded with leadership awards and man of the year awards. And it's like, well, okay, but for what? For just holding the title? For keeping the chair warm? Like, that's what happens a lot of the time. So a lot of this time it's junk. It's garbage, I personally, I think it's a joke. I don't think he has one accomplishment. And honestly, yeah, if he was the man of the year, they should have named Bill de Blasio the man of the year, because they did the same exact thing. They're on the same path, Yeah.
Well, if anything, I think Mayor Eric is worse. I mean, the migrant crisis is just look at the migrant crisis on its own. Look at this problem with illegal aliens. It's not that just they're occupying the city. we have the migrant crisis that is also attributed to the crime crisis. 80 some odd patterns is a huge problem. Again, I have a huge problem with Ed Caban on that interview behind the badge saying that the migrant crisis is under control, and yet at the same time you have 80 some odd patterns that you did not announce. I think that's a huge problem. 80 some odd patterns. And again, I'm going to say it here. I don't have the data and I don't have the information, but I would put my last dollar that those robbery patterns are connected to the carjacking of this off-duty police officer. I will put my last dollar on it right now. And for that to happen in the morning and daylight, that's scary stuff that's going on here right now.
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, it was a legal immigrant, so it's connected whether it is or isn't. And whether it's connected to that pattern or not, it's part of the overall big picture in New York City. We had 2 officers shot last week by illegal immigrants. So I mean, for him to say they have it under control, it's ridiculous. And that interview was ridiculous because he got the questions ahead of time, and they tell you that in that interview. They tell you he got the questions ahead of time and basically lied on every answer. Every answer he gave, he lied on. I think a complete joke, complete insanity. Again, we got a call that our names came up in the mayor's office and we're now targets of the police department. Guys, not news to us. So I don't really care. It's not news. If you're going to come after us and charge us criminally for giving our opinions, go right ahead. If you're going to Donald Trump us and drum something up, go right ahead. I welcome it. I don't care. I'm not playing your game anymore. We don't care. We're not intimidated. Don't even tell me. I don't care. And I'll walk through New York whenever I want. If any of you want to dishonor your badge and try to flake me, go ahead. I promise you, you will go to jail. I promise you, you will not have a job. We promised you that the person that threatened our kids would no longer be a New York City police officer. And today, they are no longer a New York City sergeant. So as we're sitting here today, the things that we're saying will hold true. So if you're going to dishonor yourself, you're going to be a thug instead of police officer and try to lock someone up for using their First Amendment ability and try to flake us or do anything like that, I welcome it. Go right ahead.
Oh, same here. Listen, if that ever comes down the pipe, if they ever decide to flake us and arrest us, just make sure that you got a great mugshot. I hope that you get a good smile. If you can put up pictures together, you can put up New York's Finest Unfiltered Podcast on our mugshot. It'd be a pleasure. We'll be laughing all the way to the bank. Thank you very much. But listen, I wouldn't put it past them. The NYPD and Mayor Eric Adams right now, the ego's over everything. And if that means making a mistake and pulling the trigger to try to flake us, I wouldn't put it past them, but that's okay. We'll be doing with a smile, no problem. Just make sure, listen, if we're sitting in your cell, you got a couple of cookies for us or something. Maybe you can, bring me a cup of coffee. If not, we'll be on our way to the hospital.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. So I appreciate everybody giving me a heads up on things, but I got to be honest, I really don't care. I don't do anything wrong. I don't drink. I don't use drugs. I don't commit crimes. I give my opinion. Eric gives his opinion. We say what the hell we're thinking, and there's nothing wrong with that in this country. And even if there is, I'm going to continue to do it anyway because it is a God-given right. It's a God-given right. The Constitution did not label that out for me. I don't even care about that. God gave me the ability to think and speak, and I'm going to use it regardless of who says so or what. So again, great episode of things we're not allowed to talk about, opinions we're not allowed to have, and we can't express in public. Eric, you got anything to end?
No, I just want to say, all kidding aside, we make light of it, we make jokes, but for the cops that watch us, that support us, in the NYPD, the cops throughout the entire country, we have people throughout the world watching this right now. If you support us, sometimes it's more important that you stand on your words and your moral principle than the actions and outcomes that may cause you the adversity that you may have to face. And that's why I have a tattoo that says death before dishonor, because I really do believe in that. Don't dishonor yourself. Don't sell yourself out. Stand on your principles. And if that means that you have to face adversity and you have to go through something that's uncomfortable, so be it. It's so important that you're expressive right now. First Amendment speech is extremely important, and we see it right now. First Amendment speech is being attacked if you have conservative values. If you're out there and you're protesting, and you have flags that say pro-Palestine, and you scream hate to Israel, well, that speech is protected. So it's so important you speak out right now because all speech has to be protected. This is the one country in the entire world that there is no such thing as hate speech. There is no, it's just freedom of speech. So you know what? If you honor that value, then you have to speak up yourself.
100%. And just to end, guys, happy Father's Day. It's Father's Day today. For all you fathers out there, regardless of how you feel about us, happy Father's Day to you. Still respect you. You're raising your children. You're there for them, your son, your daughter. That's what a man's supposed to do. So enjoy the day, and, we'll be back at you.
Happy Father's
Law
Day.
enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community. But who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed or call us directly on 888 901 Blue. That's 888 901 Blue.